Welcome to the show. We hope you have a blast. Thanks for making time for the Dealer Talk podcast. Another business leader, here's a penny for your thoughts. This ain't a regular conversation, baby. This that Dealer Talk. Yeah, this that Dealer Talk.
What up? Welcome back to another episode of the Dealer Talk podcast. This is your host, Herb Anderson. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, we have our friend, Durran Cage, on the program. Super excited to talk to him. We're going to be talking all things salesmanship, so it should be a very interesting and relevant conversation. Lots of things going on in the market right now, and I think this is one of those topics that are at the forefront and at the top of mind of a lot of decision makers. So hopefully there's some insights and values for you. Let's check in with our co-host, Miss Charity Ann. What's up, Charity?
What is up? How are you today? Happy podcast day.
Right on. Doing well. It's good to see you.
Likewise.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited to for this session because I have a lot of things that have been building up internally in my brain and in my soul about salesmanship and where things are in the industry right now at this point, and just in general. And it's going to be really good to exercise the demons, I guess. So,
as long as at the end of it, you feel better.
Yeah, we'll see. Plus, Durran didn't even realize that he made you buy a car, huh?
I know.
So you are the proud owner of a new Jeep?
A new Jeep Wrangler. And all of the joys that come with the Jeep Wrangler. I learned what a death wobble was this week.
Right.
My service writer was like, I don't understand why you're scared. And I said, it's in the name. But he fixed it this week, so I'm good now.
It's fixed now?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, really?
It was a really easy fix too, but there was a lot of stress there for a minute.
So, you've been wanting that for a minute, huh?
Since 2017.
Oh, dude, dream come true.
It's literally been on the list.
Well, that's awesome. Well,
but it had to be a 2-door Wrangler. That's what and so in order to have a 2-door Wrangler, I had to have some of my kids move out.
Oh, right. Yeah. So you're all set then.
Yeah.
Is it everything that you wanted?
Yes. 100%.
Okay. Color, style, all that.
Color and style. I mean, if I had my druthers, I would have a white one with a tan interior, but mine's red and I like red, so I'm good with that too. And
have you taken the top off yet?
I took the top right above the driver's seat is really easy to take off, but the back side you have to like unscrew and everything, and I haven't done that yet.
Okay. So how was that?
Oh my gosh, I bought a convertible. I think I might be having a midlife crisis.
Right on. Very cool. I'm super excited for you. And our guest of today is partially responsible. But
yes.
How did that happen? Because I saw that post that you did on LinkedIn, and you said, like, I did what you told me to, or whatever. Did you guys have a conversation, or was it a piece of content that you saw?
He literally had posted something about how you should change the way that you start your day and set it up differently by having like a power meeting or with your team, or walk the lot with your team. And I thought, oh, walking the lot with my team seems like a really good idea because, my team's on the phone all day.
Right.
So first day, I'm walking the lot, and I'd been keeping my eye out for one for a while, right? Passively keeping my eye out. And we were walking the lot, and right in the very, very back corner, nestled like in the very, very edge of the lot, there was this Wrangler. And I was like, well, how long have we had this? We had only had it like a week. I felt bad. I mean, it's like I'm obligated to buy it because I didn't even know we had it, right?
Yes. How can you not know that you have it?
I know, especially since I was looking for it. And so, yeah, we were walking the lot per his suggestion, and there it was. And then my my desking manager, I kind of passingly said something about it, and my desking manager's like, well, how much do you on you? Oh, this is how bad of a customer I am. He says, how much do you owe on your car? And I'm like, I don't know how much I owe. Maybe you should find that out. So then he appraised it for $6,000 more than what I owed. And then that was it. I was done.
You're like, what? I'm actually going to make this thing happen.
And then there was that part of me that was like, are you sure that's the value?
Okay. Did they keep it, or did they send it to auction?
As far as I know, it's still going through the shop. I'm waiting for them to come back to my office and be like, Charity.
Yeah. We're going to payroll deduct 10 grand out of your starting today.
I don't think that they realize how rough I am on my cars. They're
That's
about
hilarious.
to find out.
Good stuff. Well, anyway, congratulations, and kudos to, see, this is the value of creating content, man. You never know the impact that what you put out there has on people. Look at what it did for you. It gave you something to do with your team, and a side benefit to that was you found the car that you've been looking for. So that's why, taking advantage of these platforms and putting that information out there is always a good idea, no matter if you're selling or you're managing or whatever. So anyway, All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about automotive news.
I know that you said not to talk about EVs anymore. And this isn't necessarily a conversation about EVs. This is a conversation about California.
Okay.
So California, I'm sure that you know, has passed a law saying that they are banning gas vehicles, new gas vehicles. And the plan is to be 100% non-ICE vehicle by 2035, right? So because it's me, I started looking at the law and what banning gas vehicles really meant. And it turns out that they actually might not be able to do that because there's a lawsuit currently going on between the government and 17 attorneys generals from the different country or the different states, different countries. And I'm going to try to explain this. So in 1970, the Clean Air Act was enacted, but the California government wanted to have stricter policies about emissions than the federal government was enacting. So they asked for a waiver on the Clean Air Act. And that has been in effect since then until Trump came into office. And Trump revoked their waiver in 2019. But then when Biden came back into office, he reinstated their waiver. So the reason that that's important is because 11% of the automotive of vehicles that are built in the United States go to California. And because their policies are stricter than everybody else's in the country, and it's too expensive to create two different kinds of vehicles, the automotive industry builds their vehicles to California standards, right? Well, so 17 attorneys generals are saying that that is not right per, what is the argument? I'm going to forget what the argument specifically is, but they're saying that the California controls the way that everybody in the country is doing their.
Yeah, but I fail to see how that's going to impact.
So they sued. So if they win, then it revokes the policy, and then they have to abide by the EPA's guidelines and not their own guidelines. So they can't make their guidelines stricter than the EPA's.
Yeah, but still, okay, let's say that maybe legally that's going to be something that's going to cause, and this is the problem with when I said this earlier in our earlier episodes, it's not just that these manufacturers or even the government's going to say like, we are going to do this by this time. It's all the things that are going to happen with legislation, regulation, the money's required to actually get this done. I mean, I just saw an article or a post rather from somebody, I think it was Patrick David from Valuetainment, talking about the private sector versus the government sector. Like it cost them $90 billion or something like that to do what Elon Musk did for $150 million.
Well, I mean, it really comes down to like the government can try to regulate this kind of stuff, but
it's not just that.
I was reading this. Hey, I was reading this and I was thinking about in Utah, up until a couple of years ago, Utah had alcohol levels lower than the rest of the country. You couldn't buy alcohol in the store that was like over, I don't know, 5 or 6%. You had to go to the state liquor store to buy anything, right? So I live right on the edge of Utah and Arizona and Nevada. So they always say Utah beer. And then everybody would go over to Nevada to get beer because it's stronger beer. So the beer making companies announced a couple of years ago that they weren't going to make that beer anymore, the lighter beer, because it was too expensive. And then all of a sudden, the Utah government decides that it's time to change their policies and their laws. It's the same thing.
No, this is reverse to that because that beer existed.
Same idea. The government decides to do something, and then the manufacturers are like, are we really going to do that?
It's not even that. The government says, this is what we're striving for. We were going to put this in place by this time. Okay, great. Who's going to build the infrastructure? You?
Right, but this doesn't have anything to do with infrastructure.
No, I know. I understand. But what I'm saying is that, just let's look at this thing big picture. Who's going to build the infrastructure to actually achieve that? The government's going to do it? That's who we're relying on? I mean, that's not, like the private sector needs to get involved in that in order for that to be accelerated and done at a cost that makes sense. And then on top of everything else, if that's not enough deterrent, now you're going to have things like this that are going to come up in all these different places where things are going to be challenged at the judicial level, and that's going to stall it even more.
Like one government where everybody's been tailoring their vehicles to the California laws for so long, they decide that they're going to up their laws and make it more difficult. If there's not, like, manufacturers are going to push back against that.
Right. But that's why,
especially since they're like by 2035, 100%. So I thought that was really interesting. So whenever anybody says, well, they just changed this law, there's still so many other residual things going on that's not.
Which is why I hold my initial statement of good luck. I'll eat my words when it happens.
Really, really, really like, I'm sorry, when it comes to legal things, I get really distracted by them.
Okay, next.
Did you know that the compact van segment is going the way of the dinosaur in the United States? Ford and Ram just dropped their compact vans. So like the ProMaster City. And they were the last ones to build So sorry, FBI, you're going to have to come up with a new way to stake us out.
Well, maybe there's still some, I'm sure you can get some custom builds and stuff like that. There's got to be some alternatives.
I'm sure they can have old ones.
Right on. If you see a 2011 van parked somewhere near you,
be suspicious. And then my third one was that the New York City is testing out what did they call it? Intelligent speed assistance. So they are vehicles that electronically stay at the speed limit and will not go over it. And they're testing it out on their fleet vehicles in town because, and I quote, the mayor of New York said, "Speeding ruins lives." So, I mean, I know that this isn't going to be a big deal for you because you drive like a grandpa. But for the rest of us who enjoy driving cars above the speed limit.
Well, but that's the beauty of that. It's like that movie I, Robot, where, like if you can get to a place, this is just my 50,000 thought, but if you can get to a place where you can regulate speed, then you can go incredibly faster because it's regulated and that every single car is going to be going at the same regulated speed. So now you can go at higher levels of speed. And then if we bring autonomous into that, or autonomy, however, I think in the second episode I said it incorrectly. So if you bring autonomous vehicles into the mix, now you get driverless cars that can go really, really fast. That's going to be super dope. So I think this is
but I just really,
necessary step.
really itch at the whole concept of the government regulating that strictly.
But why? Because first you need
the road between my work and my house is about.
No, but you're looking at the wrong way. First, you need to have the capability belt. You need the capability, and then you can do awesome things with it. Like, dude, we're so archaic when it comes to transportation. Like, we're still using a fossil fuel. Really? That's what's available to us in 2022. I mean, we create artificial intelligence. We put a man in the moon, and we use fossil fuels for transportation. Like, no, that's got to go. Like, it's time. We demand something better.
We do
demand something better. It's like that, the Joker on Dark Knight. He's like, the city deserves a better type of criminal. Like, we deserve a better type of transportation. Like, come on now. Like, where's the flying car? Where's the like? We need something cooler.
There's so many ways that I could take that, like muscle cars that are EV.
No, that's not going to be a thing. It's not going to be a thing. I'm calling it right now. No. Anyway, is that it?
Those were my 3 things for the day.
All right.
A light day in the automotive industry. The BZ4X is really struggling. It's got a couple other recalls on it now.
Well, they'll get it right. I mean, it's not like they don't have the resources available to make that thing happen. I'm more not concerned, but I'm more interested, continuing this talk about EVs, that restriction of the vehicles that are not made in the US. Like, that's going to suck for a lot of companies that were, expecting to push
Toyota
that in as a
announced they just upped their funding of their EV factory here in the States.
Right on.
I'm sure that there's a lot of companies that are going to start reassessing where they manufacture their vehicles. Which, do you think that that's part of the reason that they did it?
From a government standpoint, yeah, of course. Generates jobs and taxes and all these other benefits, for sure.
Well, that's pretty clever.
Yeah.
I'll give them that.
So, anyways,
government, I'll give you one.
Let's move into our blog post of the week.
Blog post of the week.
Right on. So what are we talking about this week?
This one's a hot topic this week.
Is it?
I think that maybe I'm a little bit nervous to talk about this one.
Why?
Do you know what the turnover rate for women in the automotive industry is?
96%. 96%.
Mm-hmm.
How do I know? Because it's in our blog post. Yeah,
Good
dude, that's
job.
staggering, and it's heartbreaking, really, for me. Like, one of the things that I want to try to accomplish with this effort is I want to bring a light to this industry that's a little better than the stigma. Like, I want people to come work in the industry on purpose. I want people to be like, man, the retail side of the automotive industry, or going to work for a dealer group, or going to work at a dealership, is a great way to earn a living. And when I see stuff like that, or I talk about situations like what we're talking about on the blog post with harassment and things of that nature, I'm always, it's sad. It's not the direction that we want to take this thing in. And I want to be really, really careful, because I know this is going to piss off a lot of people, and I'm going to apologize in advance. And I'm not generalizing here. There's tons, excuse me, there's tons of dealership that do a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And they're dialed in, and they're doing things the right way, and working for them wouldn't even feel like you're quote unquote in the car business. But that doesn't mean that these situations are not out of hand. Not just happening, but out of hand, man. We really need to get this thing under control. How can we expect talent to join the industry when we have situations like what I'm talking about in that post, and some of these statistics that are in there? It's unacceptable.
And also, yes, there are dealerships who do an amazing job of addressing the issues and the concerns. A long, long time ago, and I think I've said this before, my dad taught me once, if you're a happy customer, you'll tell 3 people. If you're a pissed off customer, you'll tell 10 people. And that's the same way. If we want to change the way that we are viewed as an industry, an angry ex-employee tells 10 people to your satisfied employee that tells 3.
Yeah. And the other thing that I always think about in situations like this is I wonder about the talent that will never, ever be able to know, because they'll never come work here. They'll never enter the industry, because they'll be like, no, I'd rather go do something else than, quote unquote, work for a dealership. And that's just sad. Like, and again, listen, I know that we've come a long way, and there's a lot of great dealerships out there, and a lot of great operators, and a lot of great GMs. And yes, this industry every day gets better and better and better, in my opinion. And I see a lot of dealers, so I can confidently make that assessment. But that doesn't mean that we can't talk about these issues, or these are issues that we don't talk about anymore. Or if we talk about it, means that we're not moving in the right direction. I think the more
talking about them, or they get scared to talk about them.
I think the more we get opportunities to showcase these things, which is why I was encouraged to post this article, and I wanted to get this information out there, is because we are getting better, and it's because we're growing as an industry. And these are the things, like when you get, it's like when you take over a store and the store is doing so bad that every little tweak you make makes a huge difference. And eventually you get to this place where you're at that 80%, and to get from 80 to 20%, you got to start doing these very specific things that addresses those issues. That's where we are with some of this stuff as an industry as a whole. We keep getting better and better, and we're getting to that point where we need to make these very specific tweaks in order to get us to that next level.
And one of the things that I think is really important to also address is a lot of times as general managers and leaders within the industry, we have this, and I've heard it multiple times from different bosses that I've had. We think that we're approachable. We think that people can come talk to us about issues. And a lot of times we aren't approachable, and we have to be able to go outside of ourselves into their space and have those discussions and become easier to communicate with, so that they will actually feel like we're approachable, and they will be able to come to us and have those conversations. And then as management teams, we have to be able to be communicating with one another and about all of the issues as well, and not blame anyone. And the biggest one for me is that don't gossip. Like, if somebody is feeling as if they were harassed, if somebody is feeling and they bring that to the leaders within their building, then it becomes our obligation to ensure that that is respected and that any gossip is stopped right then and there. Like, it cannot be the kind of thing where the person who's been accused or the person doing the accusing is gossiped about. It's talked about outside of the confines of a management meeting, an HR meeting. Like, we got to stop doing that to each other.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Anyway, so we've linked that article in our show notes. So if you're watching this on, or if you're listening to this, excuse me, wherever you get your podcast fix, go to our show notes so you can read the entire article. Or if you're watching this on our YouTube page, make sure to go to the video descriptions page and you can see the information there. So anyways, it's time to get our guest on, Mr. Durran Cage. We are super excited to talk to this dude. I've been wanting to have him on the show for several seasons now. So without further ado, let's introduce to the show, Mr. Durran Cage.
Dan, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it. How are you doing is a real question.
We're doing good, man. We're doing super good. We're super excited to talk to you. You're responsible for our co-host Charity Ann buying a car. So
yes,
it's your fault.
That's right. That's so crazy.
I've been looking for one for a while, and I had no idea we had one on our lot. I don't know how I didn't know that. But then I was wandering around and I was like, it's right there this whole time. There's
a lot to unpack there and pick on you, Charity. So we'll get to that in a moment. How can you not know that you had that car in the lot? Come on now.
I know, right?
But we kick things off.
A couple days old though, so.
Right on. So we kick things off here at the Dealer Talk podcast with an intro. So please, sir, tell us about you.
Yeah, so Durran Cage. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico, really all over the world. I'm a military brat, as they call us. My father served in the Air Force. But when I moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico, I was like a teenager or something like that. And I met a friend who introduced me to the car business. His dad owned a dealership. And after high school, we sold cars there together. After we graduated high school, after we graduated college, I went and worked for Chrysler as a manufacturer rep in Memphis, Tennessee, 2007. And that was crazy. But I sold cars 2002 to 2007, and then did the manufacturer stuff. Then went back into retail from 2008 to 2016 on the digital side and as a general sales manager. And then became a consultant for a large vendor company, and then started my own business in 2018. So we're almost 5 years, and it's fun. And my business is really around just elevating that experience when it comes to employee experience, customer experience, when it comes to online sales and processes, CRM efficiency, and social media branding and marketing. So kind of just hopefully that answers your question, sum all that up. But that's a little bit about me.
Yes, sir. No, for sure. So Albuquerque, man, I have a store out there, Santa Fe Toyota, Buddy, Espinosa. Really good story. Dude, that guy's got an amazing story. He was washing cars at that dealership. He's the GM. It's pretty insane. And I love, he's super into the marketing. He's like on everything, like all the mailers, the website, anything that goes out there, Santa Fe branded, he's on there. I think he does like the thumbs up or something like that. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So All right, man. So how about, we never like script anything here. We just kind of get into it, whatever we're feeling like. But one of the things that I wanted to kind of talk to you about is we posted this article or this blog post a couple of weeks ago that talked about kind of like the lottery effect. And I think that you're a great person to kind of develop that thought a little bit more with. And basically what we're seeing right now is there's been a lot of people that have gone into the space, especially on the sales side during these, I don't want to call them crazy times, but definitely outside of the norm times, if you will. And they've benefited from something that, isn't really necessarily based on skills, but just the market conditions. And so how do you see that playing out here as we wind down and we get back to some sort of normalcy with, I saw a couple of reports this past week where finally OEMs are starting to talk about timelines of when inventory is going to start trickling in. So that's super encouraging. Do you think that we're in a situation where there's going to be a lot of people exiting the business? A lot of stores didn't train during that time, and they're probably starting to feel some of the effects of that now. What's your take on that?
Well, after I just dropped my notes that I was writing on, I had some good stuff to say. Hold on. Yeah.
Luis.
This is I'm a note taker. So like when you say stuff, like I don't want to interrupt you. So I'm like, ooh, okay, this is good. This is good. And then I like to learn. But it's because what's so funny that you bring this up is I just talked about this at a dealership. I was like, who here started in the last 2 years? And a couple of people raised their hands. I said, you better pay attention to everything I'm saying. I was like, because there's people in this room that know what this business was like 2 years ago before. Like they understand that this has been great. It's been fun to sell cars. And I mean, you're talking about addendums on new cars and people fighting over to pay for these cars. I didn't get to experience that selling cars. We had an addendum when I first started selling, but if you got that, wow, that was like what just happened. So, but what I was telling them is like, you really have to pay attention and almost start over again was my advice. Like, I want you to take everything that you've learned from the last 2 years and just start over. I want you to get back to the basics of your road to the sale. I want you to get back to the basics on your phone call handling, your email, your texting, your prospecting. I feel like the whole industry, in my opinion, has to do is going to have to kind of get brilliant at the basics again, but it doesn't start with the salespeople. It really doesn't. It starts with the managers. The leaders are the ones that are going to allow their people to become stale or become successful. It's because it's leaders too. If your salespeople have gotten, for the lack of better words, lazy, then there's probably a good chance that the leader of that organization has gotten lazy and comfortable as well, because it's so much easier. So I would challenge not just the salespeople, but the leaders to get back to those basics of doing those one-on-ones, doing your daily trainings, all those basic things that have made so many dealerships successful. It's important to keep doing those.
Yeah, I like that comment. And one of the things that comes to mind is I was at a somewhat of a 20 group probably last month at some point. And dude, it was interesting. There was one GM, and I'm not going to name the group because I don't want to expose anybody, but he was so frustrated. He got up in the meeting and was talking. He was like, it's not the marketing. It's not the market. It's the staff, dude. Like, the staff is so weak right now. And he confessed. He was like, I made a very big mistake during COVID, which I didn't train my staff. And a lot of people came in, and now I'm pretty much have to fire everybody and start all over again because they don't know. They're just not equipped, man. They don't know. And they make comments like, what? You mean we're not going to make this kind of money forever? Like, this industry isn't like this. And it's like, dude, like, whoa, man, like, you got to get it together, bro. Cause we
just had this conversation yesterday, me and a couple of the internet sales people. A customer had said, hey, I've got 5 dealerships, and whoever gives me the best offer is the one I'm going to buy from. And the 3 of us were standing there, and we all kind of just looked at each other. And I said, I haven't heard that line in a while.
I'm not even on that
I
anymore.
started thinking the people with experience in sales, in auto sales, they're going to become a very, very hot commodity in the next couple of years because these guys have never heard those lines before.
Mhm.
And they were so normal back then.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's funny you say back then, 2 years
Back
ago.
then, 2 years ago.
I know. That's
Yeah,
like,
it's
Back
funny.
when,
right?
back in
when
my
I was
day.
selling cars, like, dude, this is just pre-COVID.
I know. What? You guys were making $300 a car?
I know. The other day I had somebody, one of my sales guys, ask me what a mini was. I was like, "Oh, come on. You've got to be kidding me."
Like, you mean the car?
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: where should people start? Okay, let's say you're going into a dealership, you're doing consulting, you're doing training, and it's a situation like this. You're looking around, you're like, oh man, these are all, a year plus people, not really understanding kind of what the reality is here. Where would you start? What would be the first steps or the first critical thing that you have to get this dealership to do in order to get things moving in the right direction?
Yeah, so what I would do as a consultant coming in is slow down first, like, because you don't want to go in and just assume people are just spoiled or just assume that staff doesn't know what they're doing. But you come in first and you look at your 2 points, your people and your data, right? So look at those two things and see what needs to get moved. So let's break that down a little bit further. So let's say we find out from the lot standpoint, true walk-in showroom customers, we're selling those at 40%, right? So depending on that store where they're at, we think that's a good job, not bad. But we find out that the phone up side of the business, we get 200 phone ups a month, but we only close 5% of that or 10% of that. Then now we know, okay, I see where we've gotten complacent, because the phone is to me is one of the most complacent areas that I've seen dealerships get, is on the inbound phone ups, because
Mhm.
normally the inbound phone up sounds something like this. Thank you for calling ABC Motors. How can I assist you? Oh, which vehicle is that? Oh yeah. Sorry, man. We're
Yes.
all out of those and it's order only. If you can put down a deposit. We're doing
Mhm.
$2,000 non-refundable deposit. Yes. No? Okay, thank you. Now, are we gonna use
Yeah,
Sonic?
exactly that.
Are we?
Yes. Ah!
So
Oh, but and if they set the appointment, then they want to get paid on that call too.
yep.
No.
Hmm.
That's where there's a lot
Hang
of
on. There's a
lots of
lot
opportunity.
between those two things there, Herb.
No, I'm just saying.
We have a little bit of a heated discussion around this one.
Yep.
I secret shop a lot, and that's what I get all the time. They don't even ask for your name. Like, they're just like, nope, we don't have it. Thanks. Bye. I called a dealership in Nevada, and I was like, hey, do you have one of those plug-in RAV4s? Yeah, we don't sell those here. You can't get those anywhere around here. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
That's
Okay, so then you identify the areas of opportunity, and obviously from there, then you kind of build a plan around that.
absolutely. So look at your people, your data, obviously your CRM, and then ask people what their flows right. Like, I think the routine is what's going to get the successful dealers, or a dealer. Let's say if a dealer right now is not successful, they feel like their people have gotten complacent. What we have to do after we know our people and our data, what I like to do with dealerships is get everybody in a routine. I know it sounds weird, but we all have routines in the morning that are habitual. We brush our
Mhm.
teeth with our same hand, we wash, but at dealerships we do the exact same thing. A lot of people do the same thing. They get there, they get their Coca coffee, or they go to the service drive, they do their tasks, but find out what is everybody's routine and make sure that it's a high performance routine. Like, is this something that we know is going to set us up for a great day? And that's something I would look at as well, because I think that routine has changed over the last couple of years to where you just don't have to do as much effort from a prospecting standpoint. Where I think now, well, it's not, I know for a fact moving forward that salespeople have to become brilliant at the art of prospecting. They're going to have to do that and learn how to keep their pipeline huge. That's going to be the new area of selling cars, is how big is your pipeline in which you work? because I still feel that moving forward, selling cars face to face, I still don't think that will be that hard. Like, I think that they'll be able to figure that part out, because leaders can step in and help you close a deal. Leaders you can get another salesperson to help you out when they're face to face. But when it's a follow up, some leaders they're not available to do a follow up TO call or something like that.
Mhm.
That's where you want to help your people get really good in the art of prospecting.
Now more than ever, businesses need more efficient sales. That's why thousands of dealerships trust 4Eyes to help with things like automated inventory email updates and ensuring all of your leads get into the CRM. To try 4Eyes for free, visit 4eyes.io/dealertalk. That's 4eyes.io/dealertalk.
Yeah, so that brings something to mind, and this is going to be like the podcast where we pick on salespeople, but it's for a good reason, folks. Just so does that still happen? I mean, I don't see a lot of that, dude. Like I remember back when I was in on the service side at the dealership, dude. The receptionist would say, "Sales call line 1," and people would run to pick it up. You know what I mean? Like the salespeople, and there was no BDC department, right? So now it's like they have this department that does all their tasks. Is that hindering salesmanship? Like, you know what I mean? Are we creating these departments within? I'm not saying that that's the only thing the BDC does, but it seems like I don't see these folks, to your point, having that hour, what is that Tony Robbins calls it, the hour of power. You know what I mean? Where they walk in and they're looking at their prospects and they're making phone calls and they're going in these days, going to their social media and doing all these things, creating content if that's one of the ways that they're getting their name out there or whatever. I just don't see a whole lot of that. I just see a lot of people waiting around for that customer to show up. And it's like, where is the salesmanship?
Yeah. And that's where, again, because I know we said it's not just putting it on salespeople, because it's also putting it on us as managers, right? Because we have to step out as leaders. And once we catch people not doing what they're supposed to do, we have to help them fix that, because we played a part in that habit. So it'd be like my child, who if my son or my daughter is doing something, she's picked up a bad habit or he's picked up a bad habit, but they did that habit in front of me, then I played a part in that, because I let them do it. Like they're eating chocolate, milkshake, whatever, candy. I don't know. I saw it, like, dude, eat another. And then one day I'm like, dude, you got to stop eating that. I played a part in that. So with people, what I would do is break it down to the ridiculous, like keep it simple. So if we feel that salespeople have lost that art of prospecting, keep it simple. What does prospecting look like? Especially for, you said it, those people from the last 2 years, they might not know. Mm-hmm. So you might have to get as simple as like a sheet of paper with how many calls you need, text, like you just said, social media. You got to do your social media, and have like a 7-point or 8-point checklist of small wins that salespeople do all throughout the day, just to get that motor going. Don't make it big. Like some dealers are like, get 10 posts, make 100 calls. It's like, dude, you'd be better off if you got your salespeople to make 15 real phone calls. Just make 15 real active calls and send out 10 videos and send out some text. That to me could lead to a great day if it's repeatedly consistent every single day, instead of letting them go 2 or 3 days where they're not in that routine. And then we have that one sales meeting where, we go in, then now we created that frustration, when really, if it's done every single day, leadership, salespeople, BDC, everybody needs to be held accountable. And that's really the word I guess I could have used to sum up the whole thing. In order to get them, it's that accountability piece that has to get put in. And that's the most uncomfortable part, because when you start putting in accountability, they're like, wait, we've always been doing this. What makes you think now we have to start doing this? And then when you start putting in consequences, now they really get upset. Like, wait, there's consequences for me not doing my job? So that's
go figure.
Yeah.
Right. And then I think that one of the points that, Herb, you're missing is when we say, well, we just let the BDC do all of it. What the problem is that if you consistently see somebody doing something wrong, you don't take it away from them. Okay, you're not doing it right, so you never get to do this again. Hey, you're not doing it right. You're not riding a bicycle correctly, so you never get to ride a bicycle ever again. That's
That's
where
right.
we fail.
Take them off the bike.
Right. That's where we fail completely. You got to be like, okay, let me show you how to do this correctly. And we don't do that. So
No,
then we bring in
yeah.
an entire department and we train that department on how to do the job because we aren't taking the time to train the sales floor to do that job.
Right, but okay, so I agree that that's a total valid point, but when did this happen, dude? Because it wasn't like that. I don't remember this being the case for me when I started, dude. Like these people were on, if it was slow, they weren't waiting for enough. They'd grab a stack of cars, they'd get in their cars and they would drive around the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They would do things. They would go and talk to the GM. Hey man, can I do commercials? I'll pay for it out of my own pocket.
Hang out
You know
on
what I
the
mean?
lot after hours.
Like, and now it's like, and I've talked about it on the show before, but I go to these stores and people are sitting around or they're on the golf cart is right in the front of the dealership and there's like 5 guys sitting on there. That's got to be awful for the customer. Like I wouldn't get out of my car. I'd be like, dude, as soon as I get out of this car, somebody's going to jump on me. You know what I mean? Like, and is that a valuable action versus being inside, making calls, doing social media content? To Durran's point, like momentum breeds momentum, and it goes positive and negative. If you have negative momentum, which is sit around and do nothing, right? And I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but that's the perception. Then that's what you're going to do every day, right?
So a concept that I heard just the other day was that new cars have become your salary. It's not like it's a given. You're going to be getting paid for a new car at some point. You've got some coming in the pipeline. It's almost a salary. And, what is the one thing that we always are worried about when paying off commission? If you pay them a wage, an hourly wage or a salary wage, then they'll get lazy. Mm-hmm. Well, what are we doing right now?
That's a great point. I love that.
Ooh, you brought it up. So good. Who told you that? New cars is the new salary. I want to do a post on that. I could do such a good little 1-minute clip.
That is not my concept. I heard that from someone else, but
whoever said that. Mm-hmm. New cars, new salary. But I will say this: you bring up a good topic. It probably is. And Herb, what you're saying, like that could be the solution to a lot of this is really looking at your compensation plans and looking at, do you need to look into a pay scale where it's more, you're getting paid to do this, this, and this. We expect these behaviors, and then you still have growth targets, like 110%, 120%, 150% of the growth, because that's how corporations run. Like if you work for a corporation, they don't do commission. If you work for them, they give you an objective, and then they pay you as you kill that objective, you get 120%, 150, you get paid more. I could see that happening in the car business at some point where everything that you just said are like, what happened to everybody? It's like, no, if you work here, you have to do this. However, you're going to get paid this already. And I don't like that pay plan. I'll be honest, because it's like, it's this generation of pay me first and then I'll work. And I detest it because I don't get paid first. Like I have to grind, do my thing, and then I get paid. But that might be something to look into when you look at the generation, like the next group of people that is coming into the workforce, and millennials included. What is it that they want? That could be something like what we're talking about is like survey your people and just be like, we want you guys to do these things. You're not. Is it compensation? Is it training? Like, what is it that's keeping us from doing everything but prospecting? Mm-hmm. That's a great point that you both bring up.
And then you hold them accountable. You say, hey, what would motivate you to do these things? And then when they tell you, say, okay, that's what we're going to do. And then You're the one who said it. My team had this
Yeah.
idea. They came up with this idea. Hang on. That because I work BDC. So they came up with, my team did. You said it, you get it. If you're not on the phone and you don't set the appointment with that customer and they call back, sucks to suck, the next person gets it. And I said, okay, is everybody on board with this? You guys all, this has to be unanimous. And they said, yep. The very next day it happened. And it was tense for a minute, but every single person had agreed that that was what they were going to do. Eat your words. Like,
That's right.
Okay, so
It's about to get good.
no, I mean, it's just, I just don't. Okay, so the problem that I see, and I'm because I don't want it to be like a BDC attack, but the problem that I see is that we say those things, and we can set our own objectives or whatever, but nothing happens. You know what I mean? Like, without the accountability piece, nothing is going to happen, right? And if we continue to perpetuate the issue, because it's not, I don't see it at one store, I see it at multiple stores. It's not like it's happening at this particular. This is a problem that's
right. We all agree with
across
that.
the
It's a problem
industry.
across the industry. We
Right.
agree.
So it's not about taking the salesmanship or paying on commission or anything like that. Is it the salesmanship itself?
Yeah.
That's the issue. It's more, we are becoming more and more order takers, and we are becoming salespeople. And that's my question that I'm posing out there, is what happened? At what point something happened in the industry that has perpetuated this problem, or has that created this problem that keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger? Is this the time, maybe, and just to propose an alternative solution, is this the time in the industry when we go from what it used to be to a full-blown Ali Rita style type of salesperson, or a la realtor type of salesperson that's with the customer front to end, no interruption? That's my salesperson, my finance person, and we pay these people accordingly, and we bring people into the industry with a higher level of not just education, but sales experience, and we deliver and we offer that experience to the customer. That's a true differentiator. That's truly built on experience, because we talk a bunch about experience in the industry, but we don't deliver that. And then they go into the dealership and they have an even shittier experience when they're in the sales process.
So your question is, what happened to get us to this point? And I mean, I understand the reason for a question like that, but the reality is that you have to look at what's going on now. So what do we have? We have a bunch of people who don't have any pre-COVID concepts of the automotive industry. We have an entire industry full of shifting consumer expectations. So what do we do with what we have? How do we enhance what we have and create, moving forward, a solution to that problem? Do we want to go back to the old way? Or do we want to be able to create something more, to create an environment where we get to have high professional people doing the job for us? And if we're going to do that, then we have to come to terms with the fact that what we have right now might not be what that is. And we have to look at it brutally. If these people are not doing what we want or expect, then we need to cut our losses now, instead of hitting our head against the wall and expecting different results all the time, I think.
No, that's good. And so my feedback, my thoughts to your question, what happened to our industry? I want to tell you something that a guy told me a while back, and it's true today. And as it was 10 years ago, or whenever that was, when I was running the store. This guy pulls me to the side. He's like, Durran, you know what your problem is? Because I had think about this now. What you're saying, I said this back in 2011, 2012, and then 2014. Like, what's going on with our salespeople? So it's like an ongoing thing. But one thing this guy reminded me of, he's like, Durran, your problem, the reason why you're getting frustrated is because you want people to grind and be as intentional with every customer as you are. And that's not going to happen. Not everybody has the intensity, the excitement, the energy, the passion to want to do that. And he's like, some of us just want to come here to just work. Like, we just want to do an average job, without him saying he was average, but he's ready to come in, do his job, make his little money, and he's good. And the problem with some of us is that we want people to be more successful than what they actually want to be. And so what I do in training to try to pull that out. So to go back to your question, what happened in our industry is like, you got to go deeper into people's brains and figure out what makes them move to do the things that we need them to do, or else they're not going to do it. So to me, to answer your question, is I say there's a lack of drive and motivation to want to excel and do those things because it's just not there for certain people. But there are still that top 10, 20% that's out there. Like, there's still some great salespeople. Like, I've got them across all the stores I work. There's always those 1 or 2, 3 people that are doing all these things that we're talking about.
Right,
they don't even take an up, dude. Like, these people don't take ups. They kill the game. They do social media, repeat business, word of mouth. But most dealerships, that's how it is. It's that top 2 or 3. Most corporations, that top 2 or 3. But then to go back to your point, what you were just saying, maybe there is something to. I know I've got a good friend over in California who's got an Infinity store, and he only has like 4 salespeople. They're 4 salespeople, but they're all ex-sales managers, so they can like do the whole thing. And then they hired BDC kind of like people, or I don't even like to use the word BDC. I would say assistants, like people that are there to support them and help set appointments. They each have 1 or 2 of those, and they sell over 100 cars a month. So there's like different ways, because now you have people in power that they do have drive. They can make decisions quickly, and they're not coming to work to play. Like, these people aren't coming in to eat a hamburger. They're coming into work. What do we got going on? Let's do some deals. So so there's multiple ways to do this thing. I think each dealership, each company has to decide what is it that they want. Like, are we comfortable having that model of, 10 or 12 salespeople, top 2 or 3 do very well. You got a bulk to do average. Yeah, you bottom. Or do we want all heavy hitters? And that's what we're going to freaking get out of them. If you're going to do that, more training, and you will have to pay more. Like, that's
and
another
you have to cut people loose. You cannot expect to convince somebody to be something that they're never going to be.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I like that. I think that's a better approach. I'm going to be a little bit bold here and say that I think that you're better off having an end-to-end, front to back salesperson, true salesmanship. Pay them what you would pay give them the same opportunity as a finance manager and a salesperson combined to make that income. Provide them with an assistant to potentially help them with paperwork and things like that. And I think your store will be more successful. At the very least, it's gonna be so different for the customer. They're gonna be like, "What is going on? Like, what? You're not gonna introduce me to 4 or 5 different people, or you're telling me my deal is gonna get done quicker because now I don't have to wait to go in the box and all these other things." Like, it's just gonna be, it's better. You know what I mean? I get why it used to be like that. In an inefficient market, that made sense because control, right? The customer didn't know anything and the dealership had all the control. Now it makes no sense. The customer goes there. They know more than the salesperson anyway about the car because they've been studying that car for hours upon hours upon hours. And then what the salesperson does on a lot of these instances is create more distrust because the ask question, the salesperson doesn't even say the right stuff because they don't know, right? Because they haven't applied themselves to it, and then just shitty experience behind shitty experience. Yep. But then we're talking about and there's all this content about delivering a good experience for the customer. Bullshit. Like, where is the experience? Why? Because we have widgets and stuff online digitally to get customer to our website and stuff. Oh, fantastic. That's not experience. The experience happens as soon as that customer puts his feet inside of your dealership. And if it's the same stuff, there's no experience. I don't know. That's just me.
It's like arguing with a customer about a vehicle that's allocated. I've had this. We're talking about something that doesn't exist at all right now. Like, can we focus on what does exist instead of the hypotheticals? And the experience of a customer in a showroom is the same way. Like that's
Yeah,
what
I
you need
mean,
to do
you're
when you're
right though.
talking.
You make a bold point. Like I talk about experience a lot, right? Everybody experience, but you're right. Like there is, how do you quantify that? How do you measure? Are you going to measure that experience with Google reviews? No offense to Google, but we all know what that means. Like
Right.
that's not. I shouldn't have said it. Google, I love y'all. I don't want them to mess my game up. But
Google, if you're
you know what I'm
listening, we
saying?
didn't mean them.
Yeah. Maybe you moved it. Well, I can't even say that. I would just say really get intentional to find out how well the experience is that you're giving your customers. We do so much with the JD Powers and all these other companies of the world, and there's nothing wrong with them. I love all those companies. But dealers own their data. They own their data. So why not take that data, hook up with a company or do it yourself and be like, listen, we want to take our experience to the next level. We're trying to figure this thing out. I would bring in, if I ran a dealership right now, I would bring in like a couple hundred of my top paying customers from the last couple years. You can pull it up out of your data, bring them in for some meals, some drinks, and be like, we want to make sure we are being the best version of what a dealership should look like. You are valued customers. You're here in our market. We wanted to see, this is what we think about our business and where we want to take it. Do you think this is a good process? You don't see that much because we as experts are in the automotive side. We're so focused on what we think is a great process. But if we would just survey enough of our people and just keep doing it and asking your own employees, the employees will tell you, this is where this process sucks. The customers will tell you, this is where the experience sucks. Once you have that data, now it's on leadership to make those changes, right? Let's go ahead and make those changes based on what we heard, implement them, and then you got to do it again. And you just keep doing it. It's a never ending, because what you're saying now that sounds great, next year from now could be a terrible way. It could be like, there's a much better way for salespeople or for an organization to sell cars. But I feel everything that you're saying. I feel that as leaders and people that are in the field, the dealership people, just take time, slow down, ask your customers what they really feel the experience is like, not just based off of a 4-star, 3-star, 5-star, but get a little bit more intentional and get some good thorough feedback.
I love that idea of kind of doing a focusing group with your customers. That's great, and you'd be surprised at how many of them are willing to participate in stuff like this. So I think that's a fantastic idea. I don't know if hopefully it's coming across as passion and not. I don't want to be offensive, but it's just I see this becoming more and more of a problem, and it's been more in my face the past couple of months as we kind of get over this. It's like we knew when times were good just, a year ago that we were going to get to a place where it was going to get weird. Right. And we're kind of right there, man. We're at the kind of right before you jump off the cliff is my feeling, where things are going to get very uncomfortable for a lot of people. And yet we are willing to take any action. And it drives me insane. Like, we know as leaders, your GM and your GSM and your DP, if you have a quote unquote bad experience at your dealership, man, if your customers are waiting 4 or 5 hours on average, that is not good. Put yourself in their shoes. Would you want to go someplace, spend a bunch of money, and sit there and wait for 4 or 5 hours? No, you would not, especially you, because you have money and you get a lot of benefits from that. And you would never put yourself in that position, but we expect the customer to, and it just doesn't make any sense. And then for me, like, now I buy my cars via text. Like, I'm like, hey, this is the car that I like. Everything's done. I just go sign paperwork. It's the best experience in the world. Why can't we give that to everybody? I don't get it.
Yeah,
you really can. I mean, I just did a deal with a dealership group done via text. So if I can get a partner and do a deal via text in 24 hours, customers can too. But the kicker is, what I would say is that that's what this dealer wanted. You know what I mean? Like, because it's about that flexibility. Like, what experience do the customers want? There are some, I guarantee there's a lot of customers that would like to get more done via text, but there's certain dealerships that don't allow that because we need to just, get them on the phone or just get them here, which makes me cringe. But you're right. Like, you just have to be flexible in texting, and then add that human element to the texting, right? Add those pictures, that video, that voice. And that's that. So I'm glad you bring up that point, because that does play a huge part into that experience, is like, how innovative and what tools are you using? Is it just the phone? Is it just email? Or are we using everything available to us?
And is everybody on the same page? Like, what I've run into is, yeah, we want to do an online experience and a digital retailing experience. And then you go to the desk and they're like, well, why aren't they in the building? Everybody's got to be on the same page.
Right. And then we're like, oh my God, Carvana, like they're eating our lunch. Seriously? Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
It's 2022. Like, for real. And you bring up a good point. Flexibility is key, because there are some customers also that, like, and I've said this on the show before too, but I've kind of interviewed my circle of friends, right? Yeah, I just turned 40. So we're millennials, but on the end of the spectrum.
You're right there on that cusp. That's okay.
Right.
You're still millennial, baby. You're right there.
But here's the thing, like, none of the people that I ask would ever buy a car without going to the dealership. I wouldn't, because I remember as a kid going and test driving and all those things. So I feel better about my purchase when I go and I test drive the car and I get in it, right? The cool thing about my position now is that I don't have to wait for about 4 or 5 hours. I go, I test drive the car when I'm on the dealer visit. I like the car, and the rest of the deal I do on text, right? But I still have to be there physically. And there's a lot of customers that will never transact fully 100% online. I get all that. But that's going to become less and less and less. My kids, they're probably going to only want to do their deal online because they grew up in the Amazon age, and that's what they're used to, click and receive sort of a deal. And if we don't start paving that and making those things available now and shortening those times, what about, instead of wasting all these processes and money on digital retailing experience, which is just bullshit because it's a friction lead widget. It's in no way, shape, or form is it a Carvana-esque experience. Why don't we just make it a goal to shorten the time from 4 hours to 2 hours, and find technology and things at the dealership and make that our priority right now? Instead of you spending 4 hours, 5 hours here on average, you're going to spend 2. And then then 10 years from now we make that, or 5 years from now we bring that down to 1 hour. Isn't that better? Isn't that truly, now we are investing in the experience for the customer, and we're making that better, and we're still making sure that we have control so that we can, sell finance products and make money and all these other things, which are a great part of the industry and that we should always be focused on. But dude, 4 or 5 hours at the dealership at 2022, come on.
Well, and how outdated does it make us look if you can't do the whole thing online? I know somebody who's really, really, really bad with computers. Known him 2-3 years. I never asked him how old he was. And then like a month ago, I found out he's my age. And I said, you have no idea how much older you seem just because you don't know how to use a computer. Like, what kind of a perception are we giving our consumer base if we aren't up to speed on technology and buying online?
It's huge, because even you bring up a valid point, because there's a lot of employees at dealerships that don't even know how to use that tool online, right? So it's like, how do we expect our customers to enjoy that experience when our employees don't even either enjoy or either understand that digital retailing experience that we've, over the last few years have just blown into? I'm with you on that. Or like, it's kind of nuts how much energy we put into that for something that's actually been around for 30, 40, 50 years. That's nothing new. Like, I used to love listening to the owner that I worked for tell me stories about doing deals at a dining table at his friend's house, like bringing him the car, dropping the car off, having dinner with the family, and leaving. Nobody blew that up. That wasn't some company like, we got the best thing to get you to your house and you can bring spam to eat. when you go to dinner with, you know what I mean? It was nothing. But what happens is, I'm going to get in trouble for saying these things, but whatever. What happens is, across the world and in the auto industry, we find an opportunity to make some money. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a tech person, you should love life right now, because all you got to do is find something that maybe solves part of the problem, not the whole problem, does a little something, looks cool, has a great eye appeal, and you can sell it like crazy. Make millions upon millions upon, you make billions. Doesn't even have to solve a problem, but it can solve part of the problem and look good enough to the person that's buying it, and you're gonna win. And so that's all it is, because before digital retailing was like a big narrative, most dealerships that were already doing that were already doing it very well. You know, it's not anything new. It's just like what you just said, they added a widget, and that's what really kind of like advanced this thing a lot. But what I advise people to do when it comes to digital retailing, again, that flexibility, is just make sure when you're talking to customers, because you never know, ask them, you know, would you like to do this alone? Would you like to tell me how to do it? Would you like for me to show you how to do it? Would you like to do it together? Would you like to? That's how, I think this kind of sums up like the whole conversation, is like every successfully run organization makes it really easy to buy from them. And they give you options. You know, when you think about the best run companies, even when you're talking about Amazon, they make it easy, right? However you want to do it. And then they like, well, some people still want the in-store experience with groceries. Right? They realize some people did not feel comfortable ordering groceries, getting it delivered to their house. So what do? They go out and buy freaking Whole Foods.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
If that doesn't explain to you the mix of being flexible with people, I mean, they could have bought some small rinky-dink stores, but no, they freaking went out and got Whole Foods, you know? So if we use that, everything that's been said and the points that you brought up that are also valid, and use that. And then what I liked that you said earlier was like measuring, make the experience results measurable. Like what you just said, can we not go from 5 hours to 4, and then go from 4 to 3, then 3 to 2? What you just said, to me, I think that's the kind of stuff that we really got to work on, is like those tangible, specific things that we find out, this is what dictates a great experience, and this is how we're going to measure it, and then this is how we're going to improve it after that. To me, that is the missing ingredient, because we do talk a lot about experience, but we don't talk enough about what a good experience looks like and how to measure it.
Yeah, and I don't think that it would be unreasonable to even on the phone ask the customer, okay, Mr. Customer, how do you want this to play out? How much of this what experience are you looking for? Do you want to do this all online? Do you want to come in? What level am I helping you? You know.
Yeah, and from the marketing side too, just for my side of things, think about the brand message. I mean, if you really got it down to an hour and you could guarantee, like, listen, you're going to spend an hour or less, or your car's free, or I don't know, you get 10 grand off your car, or whatever, dude, like, I mean, that would be awesome. Like, that's marketing gold right there. You know what I mean? So if we truly have an experience, then we can tout that. We can take that to market in a message and package it and make it like this thing that becomes what we're known for. Like you said, like the back in the day, they would go to their friend's house or whatever, do the deal at the table, have dinner with the family. How many people that they tell to go and see that person specifically? There was no internet. There was no, there was nothing of that stuff. It was pure word of mouth, best form of marketing there is. And when you deliver that experience and that level of service, you get so much more in return. Forget the hundreds upon thousands of dollars that dealers are spending every month making sure that their vehicles are on these third-party sites and they're on Google and Facebook and all this other crap. And we fumble all that because we're shitty at delivering the experience to the customer. It makes no sense. It's like we're doing this thing backwards, man.
Marketing that, though, I'm a huge fan of that. Like, to me, that's the ultimate proof in the pudding, right? Non-scripted, a customer sitting down just saying, this is what I enjoyed about the experience, and it being like real. Not they got paid to do it, they really are comfortable with just sharing what their experience was like, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and being able to, even if it wasn't on TV, but being able to use that from a marketing standpoint when an internet lead comes in or a phone up comes in. Think about having that to be able to push to a customer and just say, hey, if you're hesitant on making your next purchase, this might make you feel a little bit easier about the experience that you might have with us.
Right, because the car they can get, dude, even the stuff that they talk, well, like the Viatos of the world, if you have the right car and the very specific car with the right mileage, and okay, great, to a certain degree, but the car they can get, it's a commodity, dude. Like you can find that car somewhere else. I don't have to necessarily buy it at your dealership. Why do I do it? Probably because of two things. It's super convenient as far as time because it's close to me, or price. That's it.
Yep.
For the most part. So they can get the car somewhere else. What they can't get is the treatment. That's what they can't get somewhere else. And that's such a big value proposition today because we're all doing a shitty job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
that's just the reality. So if you do it different enough, dude, like that goes such a long way.
Right.
It goes such a long way for the customer.
The bar
You're
is set so
instantaneously
low
different.
right now.
So, and don't even get me started on what's coming down the pipeline with these pissed off customers because they bought their cars and they paid 10 grand market adjustments and they're going to be underwater in their deals. Like, just wait another year.
One of my sales guys ran into one the other day. He said, "Oh, that was rough." He had bought 2 years ago for 5 over, and he was bringing it back in, and he said that was a painful deal.
Did he do the deal?
He got it, but it was
Wow.
god awful.
Success.
There's gonna be some salespeople in the next 6 months to 12 months that might just, I'm gonna slide over to another dealership real quick. I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna come back here in a few years. But I'm gonna take a little break from being here because there's gonna be some people that come back and they're like, wait a second, I'm here. I want to buy this new car. Why are you telling me that my car is $3,000 higher than what the MSRP of this new one is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember back in I better stop before I get in trouble. But
Yeah.
but
It's
you're
all right, man. I'm already in trouble. I'm probably gonna get cancel.
I mean, I think the whole discussion though has been really great. I think I know it's perfect timing. Anytime, when I'm on podcasts or when I do content, like the whole goal is like, man, if one person hears this message and it transforms their life or their dealership, then we just accomplished our mission. And I feel more than confident that if dealers, or managers or salespeople, whoever BDC paid attention to this, they should have some good stuff to think about. Like, okay, let's reevaluate some things. Let's look at our routine, our training. Are we comfortable? Let's maybe do that customer event and bring people in. So it's been really cool. Like I've got some great notes here of things that I want to share with my clients after this. So I'm super excited, but really good information.
Yeah, dude, and thank you for coming on and helping us spread the message and give your insights too. There is one question though that I ask everybody that comes on the show, but before we get there, I wanted to ask you, or not ask you, but give you some time to let the audience know, man, how they can connect with you. What do you do? And then we'll make sure to put that on the show notes when we send this, so that anybody out there that wants to partner up with you can get in touch with you.
Yeah. So again, my name's Durran, named after Duran. I am hungry right now, like the wolves. Just joking. Anyways, being serious, my name is Durran with Cage Automotive, as I said earlier. And the main goal, a lot of what we talked about on this show today is a lot of what I specialize in with dealers, which is really taking that employee experience and that customer experience to the next level and doing a lot of the little things. So just make sure, no matter what, after you watch this and hear this, master the little things that create the best experience. Okay. And then the next thing is just really helping dealerships with their online sales processes. That CRM is your best tool. You just heard Herb say, he's talking about 6 months, 12 months, like at the future, your CRM is going to be the biggest part of your success or failure in the future. How you take care of your retention, both on sales and service, is mind-blowing. And then your social media, your brand, your company, that's important. So make sure you guys wear those things out, lean into them as best as you can, measure everything. Don't just do it just to do it. Measure everything and look at it, repeat that success. If you're looking for me, just you can find me on any of the social media platforms, just about, I think. But on LinkedIn, I'm on there a lot. Facebook, Google, just Google Durran Cage. My number's on the sites. So call me, text me anytime. And to both of you, thank you so much, Herb and Charity. And I appreciate it for having me on. And I learned a lot today. So it was very valuable. And I hope everybody got some great nuggets from it too.
Yeah, man. Thank you again. Charity was texting there. Welcome
My
back,
kids
Charity.
literally just said, "Mom, we're on the way over." So I'm sitting here going, they're going to come storming into the house.
So, dude, yeah, thank you so much for doing this. We really, really appreciate it. There is one question that we ask everybody that comes on the show, and that question is, where do you see the automotive industry headed in the next 5 years, and why?
I like shaking my head. No, I see the industry playing a bigger role. The EV is going to play a major role in the future in 5 years. We do know that it's here to stay, right? It's not going anywhere. So in 5 years, there's going to be the dealers that are still here in 5 years embrace innovation, and they embraced EV, and they embraced a culture of people that really are innovative, right? So think about the kind of salesperson you have 5 years from now. What do they need to be looking like? And what is your customers 5 years from now going to look like? And is your dealership ready for that? Everything with the manufacturers, if you're independent, EVs are still going to play a huge role. It doesn't matter. Newer used cars, EVs will play a huge role. So learn how to train on how to sell them, learn about the battery, everything that there is to know, just so you can be prepared for when that time comes. And in some markets, it's already there.
Right on, man. Thank you again so much for doing this. We really appreciate it. And thank you for tuning in. This is all the time that we have for today. But as usual, we'll talk later.
We only host a well-respected. The vendor LexisNexis. We don't sell digital marketing. What you do? We inspect it with our DT vendor management.
Now more than ever, businesses need more efficient sales. That's why thousands of dealerships trust 4Eyes to help with things like automated inventory email updates and ensuring all of your leads get into the CRM. To try 4Eyes for free, visit 4eyes.io/dealertalk. That's 4eyes.io/dealertalk.
I'm going to do the show like this today. 325. Sup? What's up? Shoot. Sup? Sup?
You're having a good day. That's good.
You're alive and you're living. Do you remember? Soy además complaciente, romántico, un trovador. Arpa, cuatro y maraca. No joda. Luis, edit that shit.